The saloon doors swung open with a creak that sliced through. The lazy hum of conversation. Dust drifted in with the late afternoon sun, bathing the smoky room in gold. Men turned their heads. Cards paused mid-hand, whiskey halfway to lips. Through the glare stepped a tall, broad-shouldered stranger, a gunslinger by the look of him, his long coat brushing the floor, spurs clicking like a clock ticking toward trouble. He carried his arrogance the way he carried his six-shooter, polished, heavy and itching to be noticed. The piano player slowed to silence, sensing that the next tune might be played over gunfire. At the corner table sat old Tom Grady, or so the locals called him. White beard tangled, hat older than the saloon itself, eyes cold as winter mornings. He didn't talk much, didn't bother no one. Folks said he'd been a cattle driver once. Maybe a bounty hunter, maybe something worse. But years had a way of sanding down a man's legend until he looked harmless. Just another dusty relic of a time gone by. He was eating beans slow and steady, his revolver resting on the table beside his glass. The stranger, Johnny Red, went ordered whiskey and turned, his eyes locking on the old man. "You that Grady fella folks whisper about?" he said loud enough for the room to hear. "Heard you used to be fast, real fast. But I guess time's caught up with you, huh?" A couple of men chuckled nervously while others froze, waiting. Tom didn't look up. "Son," he said, voice low and even, "ain't no need to stir what's settled." But Johnny wasn't here for peace. He grinned, swaggered to the old man's table, and poured himself a drink. "You talk like a ghost, old-timer. Maybe it's time someone put you to rest proper." With that, he lifted Tom's half-full glass and, in front of everyone, poured the whiskey over the old man's head. The room went silent. For a second, nothing happened. Then Tom's hand, that weathered, scarred hand, slowly reached for the revolver beside his plate. He didn't raise it, just held it calm as a man greeting an old friend. His eyes lifted, steady and cold, meeting Johnny's with a look that sent a shiver through the air. "You made your choice, boy," he said. Johnny sneered and placed a hand on his gun, ready to draw. But before he could blink, there was thunder. The flash came so fast it was like lightning had struck indoors. The bottle behind the bar shattered, the lamp flickered, and Johnny's hat flew off his head, a neat hole right through the brim. The crowd gasped. Johnny froze. Tom hadn't moved his arm more than a whisper. Smoke curled from his barrel, his gaze still locked on the young gunslinger. "Next one ain't for your hat," he said. The barkeep muttered under his breath. Lord Almighty, he's still got it. But Johnny wasn't done. Pride burned hotter than fear. "You think you can scare me, old man?" He spat, drawing his gun and firing. The sound cracked through the saloon. 1, 2, 3 shots. When the smoke cleared, everyone saw Tom hadn't moved an inch. All 3 bullets had missed. By a miracle, or maybe by the kind of luck only devils and legends carry. Then Tom stood slow as the rising moon. "You ain't the first to test me," he said, cocking the hammer back. "But you might be the last." Outside, the wind picked up. The doors swung again, and in that gust of dust and silence, the next sound anyone heard was a single shot. Johnny Red fell backward, eyes wide, the echo rolling down the street like thunder off canyon walls. Tom holstered his gun, dropped a coin on the table, and said, "Whiskey's on him." Then he walked out into the dying sun, leaving behind the whispers, the fear and the legend reborn. The townsfolk didn't know it yet, but that night, stories of the old man spread across the plains faster than the wind could carry. The man they thought dead had risen again, not just a cowboy, but a storm. As the piano started back up, shaky and low, the barkeep looked at the bullet hole in the wall and muttered, "God help whoever goes looking for him now." Narrator's voice for YouTube ending. And that, folks, was the day the West remembered who Tom Grady really was, the most dangerous man this side of the Rio Grande. If you loved this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button and ring the bell icon, because the next chapter will show you just how far a man will go when his past comes knocking again. Stay tuned. The legend's only getting started. The sun hadn't yet burned away the chill of dawn when Tom Grady rode out of Dusty Hollow. The desert stretched before him like an old scar, long, cracked and full of memories that refused to heal. His horse snorted clouds of steam in the cold air, hooves crunching over brittle sand. The wind carried whispers and rumors that the man once called the Butcher of Blood Creek had come back to life. Tom didn't like that name. He didn't like remembering that place either, but some ghosts don't stay buried. Behind him, the saloon town was stirring. Folks who'd seen the gunfight spoke his name in awe and fear, and one man in particular, a shadow with a scar running down his cheek, listened from the back of a wagon smiling. The name Tom Grady was worth gold to men like him, because somewhere out there beyond the hills, in a broken canyon called Blood Creek, there were men who still wanted Tom dead. As Tom rode west, he found himself thinking about the boy from the saloon. Johnny Red, too young to die, too proud to live right. It was always the same story. Pride killed more men than bullets ever could. Tom had seen enough graves to know it. He wasn't proud of what he did last night. But in the West, mercy and death often shared the same hand. By the time he reached the ridge above Blood Creek, the sky had turned to fire. Below lay the ghost town, once home to miners, thieves, and killers. Now it was silent, nothing but broken buildings and bones of a forgotten war. But as Tom dismounted, he saw fresh tracks in the dust. Horses, 6 of them, heavy boots, men waiting. He sighed. So they still remember. From the shadows of the old saloon below, voices echoed, cruel, mocking. Well, well, the old man returns. A figure stepped into the dying light, broad shoulders, long coat, and a rifle slung low. His name was Clay Murdoch, a bounty hunter with a heart as black as the canyon walls. Years ago, he'd been one of Tom's men during the Blood Creek massacre. When the blood spilled too deep, Tom walked away. Clay didn't. He stayed, turned outlaw, and made a business out of killing for money. Didn't think you'd crawl out of your grave. Grady? Clay called, spitting tobacco into the dirt. You took everything from me that day, my brother, my name. Now I'm here to take what's left of you. Tom rested his hand on the revolver. You took that from yourself, Clay. I just walked away. Clay laughed. Not this time, old man. You ain't walking nowhere. The men around him spread out, rifles raised. 6 against 1. But Tom didn't move. He just stood there, his hat brim shadowing his eyes, his thumb easing back the hammer of his Colt. Boys, he said quietly, if you're gonna pull, do it fast. The canyon held its breath. Then thunder. 6 shots, 6 echoes, 6 bodies hitting the dust. When the smoke cleared, Clay was still standing, while but barely. He'd fired once, missed, and now blood ran from his shoulder. Tom stepped forward, slow and calm, his revolver still warm. You always were too loud, he said. Clay dropped to one knee, rage in his eyes. You think you're a hero, Grady? You're just another killer wearing age like a mask. Tom stopped a few feet away, looking down at him. Maybe so, he said softly. But I learned one thing, Clay. Killers like us don't die easy. We just keep burying the past till it buries us back. He holstered his gun, turned his back, and started walking away. But Clay, bleeding and desperate, raised his rifle for one last shot. Bang! A flash of steel and smoke. Clay's gun dropped before he even fired. Tom's reflex had been faster. Again, the echo of that shot rolled through Blood Creek like thunder chasing ghosts. Tom stood there for a moment, looking at the rising sun. It painted the canyon red, maybe with light, maybe with memory. He whispered almost to himself, "Let the past rest." Now, then he mounted his horse and rode, off toward the horizon, leaving the canyon and all its blood behind. By nightfall, the wind had buried the bodies in dust. Only one thing remained, and a legend. A whisper carried across saloons, across campfires, across the west. The old man's still out there, and he's still faster than death.